On the morning she agreed to marry a man she did not love, Isabella Cruz stood in a hospital corridor, holding a pin that felt heavier than her future, and somewhere across Manhattan, a billionaire decided love would never cost him anything again. If you were offered security in exchange for your heart, would you sign? Tell me in the comments because Isabella is about to. The fluorescent lights above Mount Sinai hummed like they were impatient with her hesitation. Isabella stared at the estimate in her hand. The number didn't look real. It looked like someone had added an extra zero out of cruelty. Miss Cruz, the billing coordinator asked gently, your brother's surgery can't be postponed much longer. Isabella swallowed. I understand. Through the glass panel of the recovery room, she watched Mateo sleeping, too thin for 17, oxygen tube resting beneath his nose. Even unconscious, his hand twitched like he was still trying to fight something invisible. She had spent 3 years fighting alongside him. 3 years of double shifts. 3 years of smiling when she wanted to collapse. 3 years of promising him, I'll figure it out. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. Instead, she answered. Miss Isabella Cruz. The male voice was smooth. Controlled. Not warm, but precise. Yes. My employer would like to make you an offer that resolves your financial difficulties. Her body went rigid. Excuse me. He is prepared to cover your brother's full medical expenses. Silence swallowed the hallway noise. In exchange, the voice continued, for your agreement to enter a temporary marriage contract. Her fingers tightened around the phone. A fake marriage, she said slowly. A strategic one. She laughed sharp and disbelieving. You've got the wrong person. No, Miss Cruz. Mr. Callahan does not make mistakes. The name landed heavier than the hospital bill. Julian Callahan. Tech magnate. Real estate shark. 39. Ruthless in acquisitions. Emotionally unavailable by reputation. She had once catered a gala at one of his foundation events. He had looked through people like they were glass. I'm not for sale, she said quietly. No, the man replied. You're negotiating. The line went dead. Across the city, inside a private conference room 30 floors above Park Avenue, Julian Callahan watched his board argue. If you don't marry before the shareholders vote, his attorney said, your uncle will trigger the morality clause and freeze voting rights. The inheritance stays locked. Julian's jaw flexed. Marriage. He had avoided it for a reason. Love was leverage. Marriage was liability. But this wasn't love. It was optics. Stability. Control. I don't need affection, Julian said evenly. I need eligibility. And the girl, his attorney asked. She needs money. Julian adjusted his watch not out of vanity, but habit. He liked time disciplined. She signs the contract. 1 year. Public appearances. No emotional expectations. And if she falls in love? He didn't hesitate. She won't. Outside, New York roared, taxis honking, sirens wailing, ambition grinding against survival. Neither of them knew that by sunset, their signatures would begin something neither contract law nor power could contain. And neither understood yet. The danger wasn't scandal. It was proximity. Isabella didn't sleep that night. New York never truly did either. Sirens drifted past her apartment window. Somewhere below, a couple argued in Spanish. A subway rumbled like distant thunder. The city felt restless, like it knew she was about to cross a line she could never uncross. The next morning, she stood inside Julian Callahan's office. Not a penthouse. Not glass walls overlooking Manhattan. Just a wide, controlled space of dark wood, steel, and quiet authority. No personal photos. No softness. Even the air smelled expensive leather and restraint. Julian didn't stand when she entered. He observed. Tailored charcoal suit. Clean lines. No unnecessary movement. His eyes were a cool gray, assessing, not admiring. You're late, he said. It's been 12 hours, she replied. I was deciding whether to insult myself. A flicker of something amusement moved across his face before disappearing. Did you? Not yet. His attorney slid a folder toward her. 1 year marriage. Public appearances. Joint residence. No physical obligation unless mutually agreed. Discretion clause. Generous compensation. Isabella didn't touch the folder. My brother's surgery is covered. Fully. Yes, Julian answered. And post-operative care. Her breath hitched before she could stop it. He noticed. Of course he noticed. Why me? She asked. You're educated. No scandals. No public romantic attachments. You work. You're private. You won't embarrass me. That's your compliment. It's a requirement. She finally picked up the contract. The pages felt thick, official, final. And what do you get? She asked. My inheritance secured. My board silenced. My uncle disarmed. So I'm a pawn. You're a partner in a transaction. Her eyes lifted to his. I won't pretend to adore you, she said quietly. I don't require adoration. And I won't be disrespected. His voice lowered slightly. I don't disrespect assets. Her chin lifted. I'm not an asset. For the first time, something sharp sparked in his gaze. Then don't behave like one. Silence stretched between them, charged, unfamiliar. The attorney cleared his throat. Julian leaned back in his chair. You walk away, he said calmly. And your life continues exactly as it is. Struggling. Exhausting yourself. Watching bills multiply. Her jaw tightened. You sign, he continued, and everything changes. For 1 year. 1 year. She thought of Mateo's thin wrists. The way he joked about hospital food like it didn't scare him. The way he still believed she could fix anything. She picked up the pen. Ground rules, she said before signing. Julian arched a brow. No humiliation. No controlling what I wear. No monitoring my phone. And you don't parade women in front of me. His expression hardened slightly. I don't parade women. Good. She signed. The scratch of ink sounded louder than traffic. Julian signed after her, quick, decisive. It was done. He stood then, finally towering over her, close enough that she could feel the controlled heat of him. We'll be married in 72 hours, he said. Her pulse stumbled. This is just a contract, she reminded him. His voice dropped, almost thoughtful. Yes. But something in the way he looked at her now suggested a shift, subtle, dangerous. Because for the first time, this didn't feel entirely strategic. And somewhere beneath his discipline, Julian Callahan was curious. 3 weeks into the marriage, New York was hit with the kind of storm that made headlines. Subway lines flooded. Traffic stalled. Power flickered across entire blocks of Manhattan. And the Callahan townhouse lost electricity at 9:17 p.m. Isabella was halfway down the staircase when the lights cut out. The darkness swallowed everything. A sharp crack of thunder followed. She froze. Not because of the dark. Because of the silence. No hum of appliances. No city glow filtering through the windows. Just the storm pounding against glass. Stay where you are. Julian's voice came from somewhere in the living room. She exhaled slowly. I'm not a child. I know, he said evenly. But you're standing on stairs. She hated that he was right. A flashlight beam cut through the dark moments later. Julian stood below, shirt sleeves rolled, tie gone, hair slightly disordered in a way she had never seen before. Human. Backup generator failed, he muttered. Maintenance won't reach us tonight. So the billionaire is inconvenienced, she said dryly. He handed her a second flashlight. The billionaire is adaptable. Thunder shook the windows again, closer this time. Instinctively, Isabella flinched. He noticed. You're afraid of storms? No. Another boom rattled the house. She swallowed. I don't like loud surprises. He held her gaze a moment longer than necessary. Come downstairs, he said quietly. The kitchen felt smaller in candlelight. Warmer. Julian lit several candles across the marble island, their flames flickering shadows across his face. Without the sterile lighting and polished surfaces, the house no longer felt like a museum. It felt lived in. Wine, he asked. Are we pretending this is romantic? No, he replied calmly. We're surviving a storm. She hesitated, then nodded. He poured 2 glasses. For a few minutes, they stood in silence, listening to rain batter against windows. This is ridiculous, Isabella said softly. What is this? She gestured between them. This contract. This house. This pretending. Julian leaned back against the counter. You were the one who insisted on boundaries. And you were the one who said emotions complicate leverage. His eyes sharpened. You were listening. You were loud. Thunder cracked again, violent and close. This time, the house shook. Before she could stop herself, Isabella stepped closer. Not into his arms. Just closer. Julian stilled. You can sit, he offered quietly. I'm fine. Another lightning strike illuminated the room, briefly revealing the tension on her face. He moved without announcement, placing a steady hand lightly at her elbow. Not possessive. Grounding. Her breath caught. You don't have to be strong every second, he said. She looked up at him, really looked. And you don't have to be untouchable. The air shifted. Storm outside. Storm inside. They were standing too close now. Close enough to feel each other's breathing. Julian's hand hadn't moved from her elbow. Neither of them stepped back. For the first time since signing the contract, the distance across the hallway didn't feel like safety. It felt like avoidance. And when the thunder rolled again, Isabella didn't move away. The storm didn't pass quickly. It settled over the city like something stubborn, rain drumming against the windows long after midnight. They never turned the lights back on, even when the generator finally flickered to life. The candles stayed. Julian poured another glass of wine. Isabella didn't drink hers this time. She held it between both hands like it was something steady to anchor herself to. You hate storms, he said quietly. I don't. You flinch before the thunder. That's anticipation. She hesitated, then surprised herself by answering. My father used to throw things when it rained. Julian didn't interrupt. He said storms made him restless. Loud noises gave him excuses. Her fingers tightened around the glass. When I was 13, a lightning strike hit the transformer outside our apartment. The power went out. He said the darkness made him invisible. She let out a slow breath. I learned to stay quiet during storms. Silence followed. Not uncomfortable. Not forced. Heavy but shared. Julian set his glass down. My mother married for security, he said. The confession came without warning. She believed stability meant survival. My father believed control meant love. His mouth curved faintly, not in humor. They hosted perfect dinners. Smiled for cameras. Argued behind locked doors. Isabella watched him carefully. One night, he continued. She asked him for something small. Respect. His jaw flexed. He told her love was a privilege, not a right. The candlelight caught something in his eyes, something younger than the man he had built himself into. She left, he said simply, and he destroyed her reputation before she could rebuild. The rain softened outside. That's why you don't do love, Isabella said quietly. That's why I don't do dependency. She stepped closer, not out of fear this time. Out of understanding. We're not them, she said. His gaze lifted to hers. We signed a contract to avoid becoming them. And yet, she replied, voice softer now, we're standing in the dark telling each other things we've never told anyone. The air felt different. Thinner. Julian took a slow breath. You think this changes something? I think it already has. He studied her face, searching for mockery, for calculation. There was none. Only honesty. A rare currency in his world. Outside, the rain slowed to a whisper. Inside, the space between them closed by inches. Isabella. He said her name, sounding unfamiliar on his lips, like he hadn't allowed himself to use it properly before. Yes. If this becomes real, it complicates everything. Her pulse quickened. It already feels real. The words hung there, fragile, dangerous. For the first time, neither of them mentioned the contract. Neither mentioned the year. Neither mentioned the exit plan. Because something far more threatening than scandal had entered the room. Hope. And hope, Julian knew, was far more dangerous than a storm. The morning after the storm, the house felt different. Not because anything physical had changed, but because something unspoken had. Julian found Isabella in the kitchen barefoot, hair loose over her shoulders, humming softly while making coffee. No makeup, no armor. He paused in the doorway longer than he should have. You cook? He asked. She glanced back. I survive. There was warmth in her tone, now subtle, but undeniable. She handed him a mug. For someone who claims to control everything, you drink your coffee dangerously strong. He took it. Control requires alertness. Or maybe, she replied, leaning against the counter. Control requires distraction. He studied her over the rim of the mug. You're different today. So are you. He didn't argue. Instead, he did something unexpected. I cleared my afternoon. She blinked. You have a board meeting. Rescheduled. For what? He hesitated, then answered honestly. To go to the hospital with you. Silence. You don't have to, she said. I know. Matteo was awake when they arrived. His eyes widened when he saw Julian. Whoa, Matteo grinned weakly. You're the guy from the magazines. Julian stiffened slightly. Isabella laughed softly. He's human. Mostly. Matteo extended a hand. Thanks for helping my sister. Julian took it carefully, aware of how fragile the boy felt. You're the reason she's terrifying. Julian said. Mateo grinned wider. Yeah, she's scary. Isabella rolled her eyes. For an hour, Julian stayed. Not on his phone. Not distracted. He listened to Mateo talk about wanting to study architecture. Asked real questions. Paid attention. And when a nurse came in to adjust something that made Mateo wince, Julian instinctively stepped closer to Isabella. Their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. Later, in the hospital parking garage, Isabella turned to him. You didn't have to do that. He leaned against the car. I wanted to. Why? The question wasn't accusatory. It was vulnerable. Julian looked at her, not calculating, not guarded. Because he matters to you. Her breath caught. And that makes him matter to me. The words landed gently, but deeply. She stepped closer, searching his face for strategy. There was none. You're not pretending right now, she whispered. No. And that scares you. Yes. She smiled softly. Good. He exhaled almost a laugh. You enjoy destabilizing me. I enjoy seeing you human. The air between them felt warm, alive. And for the first time, Julian didn't think about contracts. He thought about mornings like this. About hospital corridors where she leaned into him unconsciously. About how her hand had stayed in his. Isabella, he said quietly. Yes. If we cross this line, we can't uncross it. She stepped into him, then close enough that her voice brushed his jaw. Maybe I don't want to. His hand moved slow, deliberate, resting at her waist. Not staged. Not public. Real. When he kissed her, it wasn't polite. It wasn't careful. It was months of restraint unraveling at once. And when they pulled back, both slightly breathless, the contract no longer felt like protection. It felt like a lie they were finally brave enough to break. For 2 weeks, it felt like freedom. They didn't announce anything. They didn't redefine anything. But the distance disappeared. Julian moved into her room without discussion. Isabella stopped pretending. She didn't wait for the sound of his key in the door at night. They laughed in the kitchen. Fell asleep tangled together. Fought playfully over nothing. It was dangerously easy, which meant it couldn't last. The headline broke on a Tuesday morning. Callahan marriage a sham? Insider claims contractual union. Isabella saw it first. Her stomach dropped before she even finished reading. There was a blurred image of the contract's first page. Her signature. His. A betrayal in ink. Julian walked into the living room seconds later, phone already pressed to his ear. Find the source, he snapped. I want names. Isabella looked at him, really looked. Who had access? She asked quietly. He didn't answer immediately. That hesitation was enough. You're bored, she said. Or your uncle. His jaw tightened. I'll handle it. That's not what I asked. He lowered the phone slowly. I didn't leak it. I know, she said. But you also didn't protect it. The words hit harder than she intended. He stepped closer. You think I wanted this? I think, she said, voice shaking now, that you were always prepared for it to end. That's not fair, isn't it? Outside, cameras were already gathering. The press had smelled blood. You told me emotions complicate leverage, she continued. Maybe this is just leverage correcting itself. That was before. Before what? Before you decided I was convenient to love? His eyes darkened. Don't reduce this. Then define it, she demanded. Because right now I feel like I stepped into a war I didn't understand. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated, uncharacteristically unsettled. I was trying to protect you. By keeping control? Yes. The admission echoed. She stepped back like he'd raised his voice too loudly. There it is, she whispered. Control. Silence thickened. The doorbell rang sharp and relentless. Reporters. Julian glanced toward it. I'll handle the press. That's not the point, she said. What do you want me to say, he asked. She swallowed. Say it wasn't fake. It wasn't. Then say it like you're not negotiating. Their eyes locked, pride colliding with fear. If you walk out there, she said softly, and speak like this was strategy, I'm done. His chest rose sharply. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm giving you honesty. The doorbell rang again. Julian turned toward the entrance. For 1 second, just one, he hesitated. Then he walked, and Isabella didn't know whether he was choosing damage control or choosing her. The cameras outside flashed white against the windows, and for the first time since signing the contract, love felt like the most fragile thing in the room. The front door opened. The noise hit immediately, shouted questions, camera shutters firing like gunshots, microphones shoved forward. Mr. Callahan. Is your marriage a business deal? Did your wife know about the contract leak? Was it all staged? Julian stood on the steps of his own home and, for the first time in years, didn't have a prepared statement. Inside, Isabella stood frozen in the foyer, unable to hear his exact words, only the rhythm of them, the rise and fall of his voice. The crowd's reaction. Her heart pounded. This was it. He would either protect the empire or protect them. Outside, Julian looked at the cameras, not through them. At the beginning, he said clearly, my marriage to Isabella Cruz was built on an agreement. A ripple ran through the reporters. Inside, Isabella closed her eyes. There it is. But, he continued, voice steady, some agreements are designed to protect assets. He paused deliberately. And some exist because people are afraid. The murmuring grew louder. I was afraid, Julian said plainly. Afraid of repeating mistakes I grew up watching. Afraid of love becoming leverage. Afraid of losing control. His board would hate this. His uncle would explode. He didn't care. What started as a contract, he said, is no longer one. Cameras surged closer. I love my wife, Julian finished. There is nothing strategic about that. Inside the house, Isabella's breath left her body. Outside, the reporters shouted louder, hungry now for more. Was it fake? It was complicated, Julian replied. But it's real. He didn't elaborate. He didn't spin. He stepped back inside and shut the door. Silence swallowed the house. For a moment, they simply stood there a few feet apart. The storm this time wasn't outside. It was in the space between them. You could have denied everything, Isabella said softly. Yes. You could have said it was a misunderstanding. Yes. You could have protected your board. He held her gaze. I protected what mattered. Her eyes filled before she could stop them. You chose me, she whispered. His expression shifted, vulnerable, unguarded. I should have done it sooner. She crossed the room slowly. And if the board retaliates? They will. And your uncle? He already has. Then why? She asked. He reached for her, not urgent, not desperate. Certain. Because I don't want control if it costs me you. The words broke something open inside her. All the doubt, all the fear, all the nights wondering if she was temporary. You scared me, she admitted. You scare me, he replied. She let out a shaky laugh. Good. He brushed his forehead gently against hers. No more contracts, he said quietly. No more pretending. Her voice was steady now. Then say it without cameras. He didn't hesitate. I love you, Isabella. Not calculated. Not strategic. Real. And this time, when she kissed him, it wasn't born of storm or pressure. It was a choice. One they both made without leverage. Without fear. Without exit clauses. And outside, New York kept roaring. Unaware that inside one townhouse, something far more powerful than a contract had just been signed. Forever. 3 months later, the townhouse felt different. Not quieter. Not softer. Just real. The board had retaliated, exactly as Julian predicted. His uncle attempted a last maneuver to freeze voting shares. Investors panicked for 48 dramatic hours. Headlines speculated collapse. But Julian did something no one expected. He stepped down as CEO. Temporarily. Not out of defeat, but choice. He appointed his most trusted executive as interim head and retained majority ownership. The empire would survive without him for a season. Isabella found him in the kitchen the morning the announcement went public. You walked away, she said softly. I shifted, he corrected. For me. For us. He looked different now. Still sharp. Still commanding. But lighter. You once told me you didn't want to become your father, she said. I didn't. And now. He stepped closer. Now I don't want to become a man who wins everything except the person he loves. Her eyes shimmered. Mateo's surgery had been successful. Recovery was steady. He'd even started sketching building designs again, covering Isabella's fridge with ambitious pencil drawings of towers that bent like waves. Life felt possible again. Do you regret it? She asked quietly. The contract. She nodded. He smiled faintly. No, not even the fake part. He reached into a drawer, pulled something out. It was the original marriage contract, the one leaked to the press. The one that had nearly destroyed them. Without drama, he placed it on the counter, then struck a match. Isabella inhaled sharply. Julian held the flame to the paper's edge. The fire caught slowly, curling the signatures, blackening the clauses, erasing the year limit first. They watched it burn together. When the last corner crumbled into ash inside the sink, Julian turned to her. "This," he said quietly, "is the only contract I want." He took her hand, not to steady her, to promise. "I choose you," he said, "not because it's strategic, not because it's beneficial, not because it protects me." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "I choose you because loving you is the first decision I've made that doesn't feel like defense." Tears slid down her cheeks, not from fear this time, from relief. "You're not untouchable anymore," she whispered. "No. And that doesn't scare you?" "It does." He smiled. "But I'd rather be vulnerable with you than invincible alone." She stepped into him. "You once said love complicates leverage." "It does. And now?" He pressed his forehead gently to hers, echoing that stormy night when everything shifted. "Now I know some complications are worth the risk." Outside, New York moved as it always did, taxis honking, ambition rising, storms threatening in the distance. But inside that townhouse, there was no performance, no cameras, no board votes, just two people who had signed a contract for survival and rewritten it into something dangerously real. Before we close this story, tell me, do you believe love can begin as something fake and still become the truest thing in your life? If this journey moved you, leave your thoughts below. Would you have signed that contract? Because sometimes the most unexpected love is the one that saves you from yourself.